Bango, bango, bongo, it's Multiplier here with a video all about Ableton because I spend pretty much all my life in Ableton, it seems, and I like that. However, when you spend as much time in it as me, there are some things you grow to hate, so I thought, maybe hate's a strong word, I thought what I'd do is a video on 7 things I, let's say, dislike about Ableton, or let's put a more positive spin on things because I'm Mr. Positivity. 7 things, feature requests. Yeah, these aren't things I hate. These are 7 feature requests for Ableton. So, Mr. Ableton, if you're watching, go ahead and fix it right now. Sweet. Let's get into it. Number 1, arrangement view. I think there needs to be more zoom options in arrangement view because when you have a lot of different tracks and a lot of automation, you always have to make compromises. You can't ever see everything at the same time. I mean, this isn't even a complicated project. There's only 35 channels and I'd say a medium amount of automation, but I still can't see all the channels and all the automation at the same time. I know what some of you are thinking. I'm going to address that right now. What you could do is maybe, I don't know, select some channels, make them a bit narrower like that, but it still looks horrible. You can't see what's going on, and I think I've got to the root of the problem here. The problem is they always show you the same height for each track. So if I minimize all of them like that, there's no way you can shrink the actual height of each of these. Oh, there's some sort of banging upstairs. That's probably an elephant, just an elephant upstairs. Anyway, there's no way to shrink the actual height of all the individual tracks. So there's a fixed limit depending on your screen size of how many tracks you can see at any moment in time. Now, I'm no expert in Logic and all the other DAWs, but I think I know Logic, you can zoom in a lot less out more. What am I thinking? What's the best way to say it? I know, you get less zoomy outy. That's the best way to look at it. So you can do more zoomy outiness and basically make the height of each of the tracks a lot smaller and see more on the screen at any moment in time. A big part of my whole mixing process and even the whole songwriting process is seeing everything that's happening so I can build up a picture in my head of what is going on in the mentalness that I'm creating. Also, I know what some more people are thinking, and that is there is something in preferences that does what I want. But you'd be wrong, I know what you mean. If you go to look and feel in preferences, there is a zoom to do some zoom in, which is kind of cool in arrangement view because I can now get, I don't know, 80, 90, 100 tracks visible at one moment in time. But everything is too small now. What am I, some sort of maniac who can press tiny buttons? Incorrect, I can't. Everything is now too small. It's a stupid, crude, clunky solution, so I don't like it. Fix it, Ableton. Mr. Ableton, get to work. Next is convert drums to MIDI. This is something that they kept going on about in, I think it was updating from Ableton Live 8 to Live 9, as this really cool thing, but it sucks and it never works pretty much ever. It is really stupid and it's annoying because it could be amazing if it actually worked. For example, what I would love to do, because this is what Ableton basically said it would do, but it doesn't, I would love to take this interesting drum break from a sample pack made by Fanu. Oh, it's way too slow. Let's crank up the beeps per minute. That's what I'm going to call it now, beeps per minute. I would love to just convert that to MIDI and it work without me spending 20 minutes fixing it all. Look what happens. Now that's not even a complicated drum loop. Right click, convert drums to new MIDI track. It has a think. And look at what has happened. What is going on there? That is mental. I mean, it's given it a go, but really? Not close enough. I mean, it's given it a go and it's got some idea, but I mean, it's just all kinds of wrong. And that is, to be honest, better than average. And that is really saying something because this is a stupid feature. I don't know, maybe it's a hard thing to program, but I just wish it worked because it was one of the main cool things about going from Live 8 to Live 9, apart from the curvy automation. It was one of the features that got me excited. I was like, sweet, I'm going to be able to just take a drum break, hit a button, and without spending 20 minutes, just have a nice amount of MIDI that I could then drop other samples into. As it currently, well, some sort of elephant upstairs, that is mental. As it currently stands, I would have to go around fixing it because it's just not right. So yeah, fix that. That is annoying because it could be so cool. I don't know. Maybe other DAWs do it better. Maybe they don't. Who knows? Next is the skin options or the color options in Ableton. So use your shortcuts, Command, comma, already pressed it, don't need to do it twice. And then you go to look, feel, skin, and you can choose different colors. I personally prefer default 8 more than the others because default 8 is the only one that doesn't look really, really, really bad. I don't know if the people at Ableton live in the dark or what. Do they have eyes? Are they all colorblind? Is every single person at Ableton colorblind? Because that's what I think might have happened. They might have spent too long in a dark room listening to their rave music and doing things they shouldn't do. I think they've gone completely colorblind. That's my only possible theory because Ableton started off good with default 8 and everything's nice from a color perspective. And then it all went really downhill. They gave you just some horrible options. Some of them have potential, like Frost has some potential, but then, I don't know. I can't put my finger on exactly what the problem is, apart from it just doesn't look good. Hire some color consultants. I don't know, like graphics designers. I don't know, designers that are good at colors can tell you that these are all ugly because they have eyes and they can see the colors in front of them. All these colors are stupid, apart from default 8, which is kind of okay. The default for Live 9 is just depressing and makes me want to, I don't know, it's a rainy day outside too. It's just bashing into the keyboard. That's what the color scheme does. It just, the color scheme. What is going on with the color scheme? Why did they make it gray? Gray's not cool. Blue is nice. It's nice and peaceful. And some of the colors balance with each other in a kind of a cool way, but these are stupid. I like bright colors, but see, some have potential like this one, but then you go, just close that down. You go into some bits like, I don't know, let's do some automation or something, and just doesn't look right. I can't put my finger on exactly why it doesn't look right, but what they need to do is hire some color consultants or graphic designers or something to tell them what they're doing wrong, or give us more control over configuring all the different colors because they only use like 3 or 4 different colors in every given skin. So maybe they could just give you some sliders or a color wheel. People like wheels. So yeah, do that, fix the colors. And that'll be sweet. And change the default, because I have to use the default because I do a lot of tutorials and I hate the gray. So can you, for Ableton Live 9.7 or whatever, can you change the default, Ableton? Thank you. And next is not something I necessarily hate about Ableton, but more of a feature that needs to exist because it's amazing and I can't believe it doesn't exist. So, you know sidechain compression? You all know sidechain compression. If you don't know sidechain compression, Google sidechain compression. You need to know about sidechain compression because everyone uses it all the time. They use it so much that people have even developed plugins to do sidechain compression better, because sidechain compression is basically a convoluted, crude workaround to achieve a specific purpose of controlling the volume rhythmically in time with your track. Why do we still have to do sidechain compression when for years and years and years and years, the engineers behind Ableton know that everyone does sidechain compression all the time, and yet they haven't built a device to do it cleanly as a built-in effect, precisely with a lot of control? I mean, I don't know, why isn't there an audio effect, or I don't know, it would be an audio effect, I think, or just some form of something to control rhythmically the volume of your track, like sidechain compression would do, but in a precise, perfectly clean way with lots of options that will give you full control or no control if you want to do it simply. I don't know, you get the idea. I think there's a, is it LFO Tool? I haven't actually got it myself, but I think LFO Tool is the main, is it LFO Tool? I should definitely know, it's my job to know things. But yeah, I think it is LFO Tool. I don't know, you've seen it. There are effects you can get, VST plugins, to do sidechain compression for you in a precise way without having to do this sidechain compression workaround to achieve the effect you want. But that's using plugins. Why isn't there one in Ableton? I don't think any other DAW has it, but It seems so obvious to me. Why don't I work at Ableton? Why don't they pay me £1 million consulting fee? My PayPal email, multiplier@multipliermusic.com. Ableton, feel free to send me some money for consulting. Sweet, that'd be rad. I could do with some money. I want to buy a Ferrari. Nah, I don't. Ferraris are stupid. I want to buy a Lamborghini. So I've looked it up online. Lamborghinis are about $100,000. So I reckon, I'm happy to put up half of that. So Ableton, if you want to put up 100 divided by 2, $50,000 as a consulting fee for this, that's sweet. I'll put in the other half. I'll even call it the Ableton Lamborghini Multiplier Experience. That'd be cool. This next one's not funny. Not funny at all, Ableton. Not even slightly funny. Simpler is not simple. Why do you keep calling it simpler? Brains exploded because you're being mental, Ableton. Simpler is not simple. Right, okay. Let's rewind a bit. Simpler is the simple sampler in Ableton, and that is a fantastic idea because most of the time you don't want to do complicated sampling stuff. Most of the time you're not doing FM modulation with envelopes, velocity sensitivity, bit of this, bit of that. Most of the time when you're using a sampler, you're simply playing a different note on the keyboard, playing it back fast or slow. Maybe you're starting at a different position in the sample. Simple stuff. What a brilliant concept. Simple sampler. Keep things simple because most of the time you want a simple sampler, don't want to get confused, don't want to get complicated. And you know what? Lots of producers are new to Ableton and a simple sampler makes a lot of sense because when you're new to producing, you don't know about all the fiddly settings like key tracking, root key, snap, you don't do crossfade, sustain, loop, envelope, all sorts of mentalness. You just want a simple sampler. What a brilliant concept. And Ableton were like, you know what, great idea. Let's make a simple sampler and we'll call it Simpler because simple sampler, brilliant, magic, genius Ableton. But you know what happened? You gone and made it complicated. It was already quite complicated. And then you know what you did? You had a laugh. You're having a joke at our expense because in Ableton Live 9.5, you've gone and made it really complicated. In fact, it's just as complicated as Sampler, but in its own weird, stupid way. Check this out. So you have a simpler instrument, drag it out. Oh, look, a simple sampler. This will be simple. No, it's not. It's complicated. Look, there are 3 different modes. I mean, slice is kind of obvious. It slices it up, but then all the settings are complicated. So how is slice a simple sampler? That should be in sampler or some sort of slicer thing. That should not be in simple sampler. But here is the really stupid bit. More stupid than lots of other bits in an already stupid device. So this is the stupidest bit of a stupid device with a stupid name that doesn't apply. Why in a simple sampler does it sometimes auto warp clips? I know why you're doing it, bumped into the mic. I know why you're doing it because it makes sense in a complicated sampler to warp the sample so you can play drum loops back at different speeds and stuff. I'm not going to get into it now, but basically there shouldn't be an option to warp samples in a simple sampler because that is mental. It means every time you load something up, you have to check to see, is it being warped? If it's being warped, what warp mode is it in? How is it being warped? Has it warped it wrong because warping isn't a perfect thing? And then, I don't know, it's just mental. It's really annoying because I wish there was a simple sampler that you could just, even if it was too simple most of the time, but you knew how it was too simple, that would be fine. Just like how there's a trigger and gate option. Fantastic controls in a complicated sampler, so you have a lot of control over how the sample plays when the MIDI note finishes and stuff like that. But in a simple sampler, you don't want to be worrying about that. You want to whack it on your track, throw in your Skrillex samples, throw in your YouTube rip of a lion roaring and someone going, wowzers, trousers on YouTube. You just want to do that, super simple, styly. You don't want to be worrying about, oh, what mode am I in? Am I in classic or one shot? And worrying about envelopes and what mode you're in. And snap is stupid as well. I mean, snap makes sense on a complicated sampler because then it goes through zeros and stuff. But in a simple sampler, you shouldn't be worrying about stuff like that in a simple sampler. And that's all on top of warp, which is super stupid in a simple sampler. So brain exploded. Ableton, you're mental. Fix it. Can you please just make a simple sampler? All of these new features are fantastic, don't get me wrong. Slice is amazing. Having control over like snap and warp are great features, but not in a simple sampler. So don't call it simpler. Next, I'm not over that previous one. That previous one was ridiculous. Anyway, right, this next one is not really something I hate about Ableton, but a definite feature request. So check this out. Yeah, a MIDI track's fine. Let's say I have a bit of piano roll where all the piano notes are. Dum-de-dum-de-dum. Sweetness. Right, this is somewhat related to a previous video I did. I think it was the last one, or maybe the one before that, on folding, where you can basically fold the piano roll to whatever notes you've got currently playing in piano roll. Pretty sweet. But you know what would be even cooler? And again, this has got to be an afternoon job for somebody at Ableton. Seriously, afternoon job. Ableton, are you listening? Hopefully this gets like 1 million plays and someone at Ableton is listening. Right, have I got your attention? Ableton programmers? Sweet, right, got your attention, because this is a simple one. How cool would it be if you could just choose a scale from the left-hand side of piano roll? You could be like, ding dong, drop-down menu, Hungarian minor G, or something more normal like minor A. How cool would that be? Then the piano roll just folds down to those particular notes in that scale, in that key. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Now, I know what some of you are saying, and don't say this because this is a stupid solution to a problem that is actually a lot simpler. You're like, well, you got your MIDI effects. You can just go to, I don't know, which one is it? Scale, and then either choose a scale or configure it yourself. But that is stupid. That is mental. Why wouldn't you just solve the problem at source and have a piano roll fold down? In fact, no, the scale is useful, just not for this particular situation. Scale is useful if you want to play back, say, a particular scale on a keyboard just using the white notes, then scale would be cool. But if I'm drawing in my notes manually, like Skrillex, remember, do everything like Skrillex, wouldn't it be better if you could just choose a scale from a drop-down menu on the left-hand side, and then when you finally introduce this, because you will, because it's a genius idea, call it the multiplier scale function. Free promo for multiplier. And finally, again, not something I really hate about Ableton. Don't know what my hands were doing there. Finally, not something I hate about Ableton, but a feature request that I think would be really useful is, have you seen Splice? Have you seen when you play back tracks on Splice? In fact, I'm going to show you. Right, check this out. So, on the Splice playback thing, I don't know the name of it. There was a name for it as well. Whatever this is in Splice, where you play back a track that you've published or released on Splice. I don't know, I'm not a Splice expert, kind of am, but don't know the fancy names. When you play back a track like this, you probably won't hear it right now, but that's cool. Check out what happens to the individual, almost like clips. See that? Okay, ignore the comments because they're in the way. See how comments are in the way. Who put these comments here? It was me. Anyway, ignore the comments. Did you see how when particular clip?
Analog to digital, keep beats to GB, physical from edge to end, beginning the winner for pillar to post. Get roast by this incredible host. Clean like the raps here, then the flow. Post at a lows when it comes to ripping words, when the true rolls, my mind's free like the birds I get heard.
That is genius. While that's loading up, the reason why that would be amazing is when you have a complicated project with just clips everywhere, you've got 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 different channels, lots of different stuff happening. I want to know at any given moment in time what channels are playing back sound. So I can see what's going on and I can just understand at a glance without using my brain, because I don't like using my brain. So I can understand at a glance what channels are kicking out audio, and therefore I need to keep my eye on those channels, maybe see what's going on with them, stuff like that. Or maybe just to keep an eye on things to make sure that channels aren't kicking out audio when I don't want them to kick out audio. Lots of different uses. Just makes sense to me, right? Wouldn't it be cool if the channel's lit up in some way? Maybe it can be an option you can turn off and on. I'm sure some people it would annoy, but it would not annoy me. I would love it. And it's all about me. So do that. Incorporate that Splice idea somehow. I'm not entirely sure how. Maybe the clips light up. Maybe the actual channels on the right-hand side do. Maybe the background bit does. Maybe it just goes mental or just chilled. I don't know. Maybe different brightnesses for how loud that channel is. Don't know, just thinking outside the box here. Thinking outside the box, got a text message from Jay-Z, and then yep, Jay-Z's like, sweet, right, I got distracted by Jay-Z's text message. Yeah, sweet idea, right? All the idea about this Splice clips lighting up and stuff. Introduce that. That might be slightly more difficult. It can't be that more. It can't be that difficult. I mean, I'm not a computer programmer. I don't know what I'm talking about, but in my head, not that difficult. So do it.